Hey everyone, what's going on? It is your favorite hockey podcast, Pucks and Brews, or maybe it's not, who cares? I am your host, Michael Shade Sparacino, alongside, as always, Liam, the Shellmaster Godimer. And Liam, I skipped a half marathon this weekend because of 96% humidity. Were you more productive than I was?
Well, you know what? I'll say this, Shades. Good choice, skipping out on the half marathon with that amount of humidity on the horizon. But me, Shades, I did one thing this week. For the first time since 1999, the New York Knicks are headed to the Eastern Conference Final. And Shades, this hat purchased in 2013. You want to see the
Nice.
label? Look at the
Yes.
starting lineup for those. Look at the starting lineup of the Knicks in 2013. See that
Oh,
right there? No,
it's the
I
blur
blurred it.
background thing is
Hold
killing you
on,
right
hold
now.
on, hold on. No. Oh, this is such. Hold
Yeah,
on.
that's the only thing I hate about the
See
blur
that? See
background.
that 513 right there?
Holy crap.
513. May of 2013. This hat was purchased, so no bandwagon here. Knicks beat the Celtics in 5 games. I know, in 6 games. I know that this is a hockey podcast, but I got to give a shout out to my Knicks. That's what I did this week. And I will be wearing this hat throughout the rest of the show. So enjoy.
I'm probably only gonna watch if they even make the finals because I've never been a Knicks fan. So
Hey, there's always room on you're a New Yorker,
I,
like,
I mean, he- here's what I'm doing. I'm rooting for the happiness of my boys right now more than I'm rooting for the Knicks. I don't hate the Knicks. I've just never been a Knicks fan.
listen, let me just give a little bit of a shout out to Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, best New York athlete since Henrik Lundqvist. Better than Aaron Judge. That's how impactful Jalen Brunson has been. Just an absolute dog. What a time to be a Knicks fan. Can only hope the Rangers reach this level of happiness this time next year. We'll see.
I love how we've been in two of three conference finals and we still weren't even close to this level of happiness.
Well, when you're a Knicks fan, Shades, and you go through the team
Oh
where it
yeah.
was in the mid 2000s and 2000 early 2010s and just the mismanagement of the franchise, general manager to the coaches to the star players to bringing in guys at the end of their careers to have the Knicks where they are now as a unit that has the second best chance via Vegas to win the NBA championship. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
They have the second best odds?
Holiday, Ben Stiller, yeah, second best odds behind the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Did
So
not expect that.
I think the Knicks are plus 450 right now. But
Hmm. Well, you know my luck. I won't be betting on them. So
yeah, can you actually bet on the Pacers so the Knicks win?
just
That'd be good.
so I,
Please do.
we have a running joke. Well, more so, I have a running joke in two different group chats of my betting luck just being atrocious because I am a jinx.
What'd you say? The Leafs are going to win Game 7 last night?
Oh
Oh,
no,
what the,
I didn't say anything
you
about
didn't
last
say
night.
it. No.
I
Did you have
know.
like intuition though? Like I would have loved to know if you did actually jinx the Leafs. Like
Did I,
if you're going to bet on a team.
hold on.
Like
Did I put like $1 on Florida just to put $1 on them?
I hope you did, because then the jinx would be over. I don't care if it's $1 or $100. You win, you win.
All right. Let me double check this real quick. I mean, I got screwed on, game two because, the Leafs just had to fucking win that game.
That's
Assholes. I did put $1 when it was either 1 or 2-0 because I'm just like, you know what? Why not?
probably won a whole 75 cents.
Yeah, not even.
We'll take it as a win.
I do
Congratulations.
the stupid
Yeah,
ass
congratulations.
parlays. Wait, hold on. I won a 7 leg par. Oh, never mind. Never mind. That was I put so little into that bet. I'm not even gonna worth. It's not even worth mentioning. But yeah, so I mean, kudos to Knicks fans. Here's my cheers to you guys. My medium Dunkin' Cold Brew, not sponsored.
Carl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, all the Knicks. Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah,
Bing bong.
let's hope the Rangers can get their shit together.
That'd be nice.
Now, but before we go into the hockey this episode, little bit of an extended intro. We see this happening now with the Knicks and Knicks fans. Can you imagine what it's going to be like if the Jets just make the playoffs at this point,
Be unbelievable.
and
And I don't think we're
especially,
too far
it's,
away. I don't think we're too far away.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, a lot of question marks. First year people. A lot of moves. I mean, cautiously optimistic.
But the Knicks are, and the fans' reaction to the Knicks making the conference finals is a very good precedent to what can happen with the Jets if they're able to turn this around. But they got a long hill to climb. A lot of good teams in that AFC. So
Yeah, and we just have to share a division with the Bills. Okay.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Well, before I go on a rant about that, let's talk about some hockey, shall we?
Let's get into it.
All right. But before that, one good long sip of the cold brew. Ah, there we go. All right. So we are down to four teams in the Stanley Cup playoffs, just like the NBA playoffs. But we got a rematch of the Western Conference Final, the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers. And in the East, the Florida Panthers are back in the Eastern Conference Final for the third straight year, taking on the not New York Rangers, because that would have been a perfect 4-for-4, but they are taking on the Carolina Hurricanes, who are in their third Eastern Conference Final in the last 7 years. I mean, we got four good teams here, Liam.
We do. Three out of the four teams from last year that made the conference final are back. Of course, the New York Rangers are the one team that are not. But hey, every single year that the Rangers had taken that step, who were they holding back in the Metropolitan Division? The Carolina Hurricanes. And now the Rangers do not make the playoffs. The Canes take that opportunity to jolt up. And we'll get into this in just a little bit, but I think this is going to be a much different series than the last time we saw the Panthers and the Canes play in the Eastern Conference final where, Cats swept the Canes. So, albeit a lot of overtime games in that one. We'll get there.
That was actually going to be one of my first questions to you. Do you think the Hurricanes actually take a game this year?
I think the question is, does the Panthers take more than one game in this series?
You're that confident about the Hurricanes this year, aren't you?
Who's been the best goaltender in the playoff shades? You could argue Calvin Pickard, but if you're arguing a number one goaltender, the best goaltender in the playoffs, bar none, it's Freddie Anderson. It is. Look at the stats and look at how he's played. Now you could argue shot volume and you could argue shot quality, but that's just a testament to the defense and to the way that Rod Brindamore's teams play. And I don't want to disrespect Jake Ottinger at all. I mean, I think he's been awesome. I think Freddie's the best goaltender in the East right now, and I think Jake Ottinger is the best goaltender in the West. And I don't think that's any crazy talk by any sense of the imagination. But for me,
Oh,
I think the
holy
Canes
crap.
know this is their opportunity. What do you got?
1.36 goals against average for Freddie Anderson.
It's been unbelievable. What's his
God damn.
save percentage
His
there?
save percentage, 937.
Now, as good as Jake Ottinger has been, and we'll get to Jake
919 for
Ottinger
Jake
in
Ottinger, which is still pretty good.
different stratospheres. And right now, Freddie Anderson, number one thing with Freddie, can he stay healthy? And can Carolina get the goal scoring that they did not get the last time that they played Florida? And I think they're going to get it. And I think Carolina legitimately is going to go to the Stanley Cup final, and I would not be surprised if they won it in six.
Just to put this into perspective with these numbers, Sergei Bobrovsky's goals against average so far this playoffs is 2.31. Freddie Anderson has a .95 advantage. That's unheard of.
Just goes to show you that goal scoring is a little bit down in the playoffs, especially in the second round, unless you're playing Edmonton. If you're playing Edmonton, it's a little bit of a different league.
Yeah, a little
Um,
bit, a little bit.
Goal scoring is down and the goaltending numbers have consequently gone up. But for me, Shades, I think Carolina is in position here. And if they are going to make a run and make it to the Stanley Cup final for the first time under Rod Brindamore and potentially win a Stanley Cup for the first time since 2006, this is the year. This is it. They've got to get it done. And I believe that they will give Florida a lot of fight. I don't really think Toronto was very good this year, and that series went seven. Tampa Bay. I said that Tampa Bay was going to win the series. Please excuse my dogs who are barking. I said Tampa Bay was going to win the series, but hey, you know, Tampa Bay really struggled down the stretch, and we saw the lack of depth that they had up front and on defense too. So I'm not really too impressed by Florida's run to the conference final. I don't want to take anything away from them, but I think Carolina's going to win this series, and I'll eat my
Yeah.
word. I will if it doesn't end.
I
But
mean, I only both of my cup picks, lost in the first round, but I digress.
one's still alive, right? To Carolina and LA, I think so.
Yeah,
Um,
you did. Yes, you did. I remember
and
that.
LA would have still been in the playoffs if they didn't, you know, mess
So,
everything up.
so you know how you said Calvin Pickard was doing pretty good? His save percentage is 888 and his goals against average is
What's his record? He's winning hockey games, baby.
2.84.
What's his record?
What is it, 6-0 or 7-0, something like that. It's not because of him.
Yeah, but he's been better than Stuart Skinner, and he's given his team a chance to win. And the bottom line is, when he's in the net, Edmonton wins hockey games. And um, but yeah, no, he doesn't. Not very close to Anderson's save percentage, which is
No,
near 930. So, but
it's
still winning
incredible.
games.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about each one of these series individually now. We just kind of just gave, like a rough overall view. All right, let's start in the East. We got the Panthers and the Hurricanes. Now, Hurricanes went through just the Washington Capitals in round two. Round one, I mean, I don't think anybody saw them losing to the Devils, especially with the Devils' injuries, but their path to the conference final thus far has been the Devils, then the Capitals. I don't want to exactly say they had an easy schedule, but the Devils were injured to shit, and it may have been a little bit of a different story had they been fully healthy. And the Capitals were not the same Capitals from the regular season. So they arguably had the easiest second round matchup just based on how all of the eight teams were playing. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would disagree in terms of how Washington was playing. You know, you mentioned that you didn't think Washington was the same team as they were in the regular season. I would agree with that statement, but I would say the reason why is because of how the Hurricanes played them. I think the Capitals are a very good team, and I think when you look at an 82 game sample size, you have to take that for what it is. Like Alexander Ovechkin had, an outstanding season, of course, breaks the goal record, career years for guys like Dylan Strome and Andrew Mangiapane, trade deadline acquisitions like Anthony Beauvillier, who make a big impact down the stretch. And then in the postseason, we see them in round one. Montreal gives them a little bit of a fight, but it's clear that Washington is the better team. And then in the second round, they just get completely shut down. I mean, there were multiple games in that series where, Washington had under 15 shots after, 45 minutes of play, first media timeout in the third period. And that says a lot about how good the Hurricanes are playing and how well they're able to shut down teams. So if you're a betting man, I know there are a lot of betting people out there. Bet the under in every single game in this series because these are two teams that do not give up a lot. So I think it's a testament to Carolina's forecheck and how well they shut down teams defensively for how the series against Washington went down. And the first round against the New Jersey Devils, I don't necessarily disagree. Shades. I mean, they were injured. I mean, when you don't have your best player in Jack Hughes, and then you lose Luke Hughes, who was arguably your best defender down the stretch there, you can't expect to win too many games in that series, especially against a battle-tested group like the Hurricanes. So I don't disagree, but I don't think it was as easy as a road to the conference final as some are making it out to be. Capitals were still a very good team this year, and Hurricanes have to step up to the occasion and show that they were the better team, put their foot down. They did.
I'm glad you brought up the under thing because I think it was game four, maybe five of the Canes and Devil series. I look and I go over 5.5. Like it was like plus 110 or something. I text one group chat, guys, I'm thinking about this, and I get a response, what are you nuts?
Yeah, yeah,
And then the next game after I bring that up, it goes over. And I'm just like, it's always the one after.
right.
I stayed away, just for the record. But on the Panthers side, they went through the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, Lightning, I mean, like I said, I expected them to go to the Cup final. I was proven vastly wrong, mainly because, Andrei Vasilevsky's save percentage fell off a cliff. And against the Leafs gave him a good battle, but the Maple Leafs did what they do best. They
Yeah.
pulled the Maple Leafs and lost the game seven in embarrassing fashion
On home ice shades.
on home ice to make it sting even more.
But yes, the Maple Leafs lose in Game 7 last night. The Florida Panthers, as you mentioned, move on to the Eastern Conference Finals yet again with a chance to go to the Stanley Cup Finals in hope of winning back-to-back Stanley Cup championships. It was a good series. I think Toronto definitely made Florida fight for it. I don't think Florida is quite as good as they were last year. And I know that can be a little bit of a controversial statement because Florida has Brad Marchand this year, and they have a couple of other guys, but for me, I just think they were such a well-rounded group last year, and there was just no stopping them down the stretch. This year, I think it's a little bit of a different story. They beat Tampa Bay. Andrei Vasilevsky was just abysmal in that first round series. Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, invisible. But like I said with Carolina, I won't be a hypocrite here. The reason why those top players were shut down for Tampa Bay in the first round is because of the Panthers. And it's because of the way that Paul Maurice plays and that they don't let the top guys for the other team get a lot of time and space to make things happen. And that's why those guys are getting a lot of criticism. That's why the Lightning went out with such ease. And that's why there were so many grade A scoring chances against Tampa Bay, which led to the lopsided scores in favor of Florida. Then you get to the second round. I'm really surprised that Toronto was able to move this to seven. But when you lay an egg like that, you lose by 4 goals, 5 goals. Was it 6-1 or 5-1?
6-1.
4 or 5 goals. 6-1. 5 goals on home ice. It's just unacceptable. But again, Florida, this is the way they play. They smelled blood in the water last night, taking on a Toronto team that they knew felt all of the pressure to go out and win a game seven and change the narrative on home ice, and they didn't. They smelled blood in the water and they fucking took it from the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that was really impressive from the Florida Panthers. I don't think Sergei Bobrovsky was great. Um, their depth scoring really, really took them places. And the acquisition of Brad Marchand, that now turns into a first round pick sent over to the Boston Bruins. I bet Bill Zito had the biggest smile on his face signing off on that one because Brad Marchand's been a big catalyst to the Panthers' success as well. So both very interesting runs to the conference final shades for both teams.
Yeah, yeah. Now, we get to the point where who do you got? Well, I mean, I think we all know who you have, but
All right. I am going to take Carolina in the series, but I'm not going to be too bold with it. I think it's very important to mention that home ice advantage belongs to Carolina, and the Hurricanes have been very good at the Lenovo Center. And if Carolina is able to win both games at home and then go down to Sunrise, where I'm not sure the Panthers really play their best hockey down in Sunrise. It can be a little bit 50-50 sometimes. They could have a 3-1 lead, bring it back to Raleigh. That's kind of just how I see the series. They have the best goaltender in the series. Of course, Bobrovsky, a Stanley Cup champion last year, but simply put, you can't ignore the numbers when it comes to Freddie Anderson. You just read them out loud. And, I think you knew that Freddie Anderson was having a pretty good postseason, but then you read it out loud and you were like, holy shit, look at those numbers. Rod Brind'Amour really gets the most out of his guys. I think the depth pieces that Carolina has brought in, Taylor Hall, Logan Stankoven, that team definitely took a hit when they brought in Mikko Rantanen and they were forced to trade him at the deadline to the Dallas Stars. That's a huge hit, but that really could bring a team together or break them apart. And I think it put them together more than anything. Their defense is very good. I would argue that the best defenseman in the NHL is Jacob Slavin. I think we've been saying it for years. Definitely the best defenseman all around left in the playoffs right now. The last time these two teams faced off in the postseason, you remind me, Shades, because I don't know off the top of my head. How many decisions were in overtime the last time these two teams played?
was it
It,
three?
it was at least two. So when you're playing that tight hockey, and I think Carolina is steps and steps better than they were the last time they took on the Panthers in the playoffs, I think there's a definite case, should Freddie Anderson stay healthy, that the Hurricanes could go to the Stanley Cup final. And I think they are, and I'm going to take them in 6 games. And the biggest reason is home ice advantage.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I am rooting for the Hurricanes to win the series. I know a lot of people are not going to like to hear that, but I'm gonna go with the Panthers just because the Hurricanes have probably been the worst team to trust over the last 7 years, even though they've won around every year. But what happens every time they make the conference final lately? They've gotten swept 3 times in a row. This goes back to 2009. Excuse me, not, yeah, 2009. 3 conference finals appearances. Well, now it's going to be four. 3 straight sweeps against. So I'm going the route of I'm not picking them until they do it. So
Fair.
if they can win at least 2 games, they got a good chance going into, if it's 2-2 after 5, or after 4 games, I mean, I'd say they stand a pretty good chance. But Carolina is a little shaky when it comes to getting late into series. And if the series goes 7, I mean, I think the Panthers take it. And that's what I'm going to say. Panthers in 7. I think Carolina will put up a fight, but I just got that feeling.
All right. All right. Fair
But
enough.
If Carolina wins, though, I'm not going to be surprised because I'm picking against them. And with the way this playoffs has been shaking out so far, it's been a little bit of a weird playoffs, if we're being honest. Wouldn't surprise me from that standpoint either.
Right. Right. All
All
right,
right.
Shades. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so you got the Canes in 6, I got the Panthers in 7. One of us is going to be right, and it's probably going to be you.
What'd you say?
One of us is going to be right, and it's probably going to be you.
Well, we'll see. It's going to be one of us for sure.
Yeah, well, it
Uh,
has to be.
yeah.
Unless the
20.
NHL just decides, no, both of these teams are disqualified. Winner of the Western Conference Final wins the cup.
Let's just give it to whoever wins the West.
Yeah, can you imagine if that actually happened? Like both entire teams just like get caught for like steroid use and
That
everyone gets suspended.
That'll be something. But Shades, I just want to go back to the 2022-23 Eastern Conference Finals where we mentioned that the Panthers swept the Hurricanes in 4 games. Just want to relay the final scores of that series. Every single game was a one-goal game. Game one, 4-3 Panthers win. Game two, 1-0 Panthers win. Game three, 2-1 Panthers overtime win. And game four, 3-2 Panthers overtime win in 4 overtimes. A lot closer than just a sweep. So I'm just putting that out there. Every single game, the last time these two teams faced off in the playoffs, 1-goal games. So
I'm actually glad you mentioned that because this brings up the memory yet again of Brindamore's post-game press conference after that one. And he just goes, look, the score sheet says we got swept, but we didn't get swept. And he was getting clowned because of that statement. And meanwhile, you and I were just going, it actually makes sense of what he's saying. He just should have worded it better.
he should have worded it better, but in a couple of weeks, he's going to be right and he's going to be the winner. So we'll see. I'm putting all in on the Hurricanes, man. I can't back out now. This is Carolina's year. Definitely a special sense in the air in the Raleigh area, feeling towards the Canes. So,
Well, I think I don't have any teams left for my bracket. I just realized that. Oh well.
yeah, I think I don't know who I took in the Western Conference Final. I think I did take Dallas in the Western Conference Final.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, my bracket went to hell.
who'd you
Anyway,
have? Final four? You put Vegas in there?
uh-huh.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, the Kings awoke a beast, which we're going to get to right now. So, the Edmonton Oilers are taking on the Dallas Stars in the Western Conference Final, and the Edmonton Oilers, their path to the conference final was a 2-0 deficit against the Los Angeles Kings, who would then piss the series away because they lost game 3 in overtime, and that was basically the beginning of the end for them. Edmonton took care of business, and then in the second round, things continued for the Edmonton Oilers. The awakened beast took care of business in 5 games against the Golden Knights, and alas, here we are. Now, the Dallas Stars, on the other hand, had a much more memorable path, and probably, if we're being honest, the most exciting and intriguing of the four teams left. They went through the Colorado Avalanche in round one, where they went down 2 goals to 0 with about 13 minutes left in game seven. And then Mikko Rantanen said, "This is my team now." And he gets a hat trick with less than 14 minutes to go in game seven. And he propels the Stars past the Avalanche. We're going to get, to the Avalanche at a different day, but we'll get there when we get to it. And in the second round, the Dallas Stars take on the President's Trophy. The President's Trophy cursed Winnipeg Jets. The curse continues. And they take care of business in 6 games. Game six going to overtime. And as soon as that series was over, I felt the gut punch. And I am not even a hometown fan of these two teams. I like both teams. I have nothing against both teams, but obviously we're Rangers fans at heart. But the whole thing with, Mark Scheifele's father passing away and all the emotions going into that game, him playing the way he did, man, just when Dallas scored the game six OT winner, I was just like, man, like I felt for him.
Yeah, rest in peace, Mr. Shifley, for sure. And it's clear how much he meant to Mark. And again, I think whenever any of us would go through something like that, especially if you're an athlete, it's good to look back and understand what that person would have wanted. And he knew his dad would have wanted him to play, and he scores the only goal for the Jets. And yes, he's in the penalty box, but that says a lot about Mark Scheifele. And I'll say this: Mark Scheifele not afraid to take a tripping penalty with less than 30 seconds left in the game to prevent the breakaway, in a potential winner go home scenario for his team. So the fact that he was able to take that penalty with everything going on, and sit in the box and deal with that. It says a lot about him, his character, and it's good to see kind of the Stars embracing him at the end there. Really well covered all around. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in the group chat, when he took the penalty, I was literally the emoji of
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
no, not Shifley taking the penalty. But I mean, they did kill off the initial 15 seconds to get it into overtime, and then I believe they killed off over a minute left of the remaining time. But
yeah.
man, just puck to the middle of the ice. Thomas Harley just absolutely cannons one past Hellebuck, who almost made the save without being able to see the shot at all because I forget who the defenseman was standing right there. Hellebuck didn't have a chance, but they cut right to Scheifele after the goal, and it just my mood was just like playoff overtime hockey. This is absolutely wonderful. Then they just kept mood just kept going down because I just kept getting more sad.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a beautiful goal by Harley. He quietly now has 4 overtime game winners, which is the most among active defensemen in the NHL. Might have to
I
check up
I
on that.
believe it was 6.
Okay, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah,
It's not
including regular season and playoffs this year. Or
including
was
regular.
it?
I think it was just playoffs.
Hmm.
Might have to take a look at it. We'll see.
Yeah, I
But
forgot what the
Thomas Harley,
exact graphic said.
yeah, real good young player, played for Team USA. Back at the hockey tournament there at the the middle of the season. Sorry, I got a little distracted as your camera goes unfocused here. Happens.
In typical Pucks and Brews fashion, at least once an episode.
Yeah, but no, the game six was awesome. Um, and yeah, want to team me up for the next question, Shades? You want to fix your? What do you want to do here?
All right, let's. How much do you want to bet that my camera is going to stay out of focus for another 20 seconds?
I don't really know if I can get my points across. Looking at your out of focus camera here.
I'm
I don't
sick
think
of this.
anybody wants to watch either.
I'm
I'm gonna
sick
take
of this.
a shot,
Okay,
but let's
one
go here.
second. There we are. Jesus Christ. At least once an episode. It like never fails.
Yeah.
Would you rather have my camera going out of focus once an episode or me forgetting to unmute myself once an episode? Because I do that like once every 3 or 4 episodes.
Oh goodness. I don't know.
Well, you do that like every other episode.
Not this episode though.
No. But well, in terms of, just the handshake line and the goal and the aftermath and all that, just this is literally the epitome of hockey. A team can go to absolute war for 6 games. And you saw it with Jamie Benn and Mark Scheifele. They were bitter enemies throughout the entire series. As soon as the handshake line, starts, you see all the respect in the world that these players have for each other.
Yeah. It's bigger than the game, right? When you're dealing with something with, with real life circumstance. I think it's important, especially for a leader on the opposing team, in victory, to acknowledge his fellow teammates. So I think it was a really good gesture for sure. Really well done all around. And like you said, it is the epitome of hockey, like these two teams, no matter which conference you're in, all the teams throughout the playoffs and the regular season, they go to battle game in and game out, and you might think that there's a lot of disdain or detest from one player to another, but no, it's actually respect for one another. And that's really the greatest thing of all,
Yep.
sportsmanship and respect for one another's abilities. So
Yeah, yeah. But no, props to the Dallas Stars because they don't tell me my camera went out of focus. Okay, there we go. Props to them because I mean they knew how important this game was to him, but just the massive amount of respect, it tugged at the heartstrings, I'll be honest with you.
for sure.
But speaking of the Dallas Stars, we have a conference final to talk about. They're going against the Edmonton Oilers, and like I said, the Los Angeles Kings awoke a sleeping beast. Thanks a lot, Kings. You're letting me down yet again another year for a completely different reason. But alas, here we are, a rematch of last year's Western Conference final. As we said again, Edmonton took it last year, got to the Stanley Cup final, went down 3 games to nothing, forced a game 7, but alas, it was not meant to be. But the question this year is, do they go back to the Stanley Cup final for the second year in a row, or does Dallas get revenge on them?
I don't think they go back to a second Stanley Cup final in a row. Just because it's so hard to do so. And I think Dallas this year is a pretty complete team. And when you add Mikko Rantanen to pretty much the same roster that they had the year previous going into that playoff round, that's a pretty big difference maker. And I don't know how Edmonton is going to necessarily deal with this new look Stars team. Jake Ottinger, best goaltender in the Western Conference. If there's one question mark with the Edmonton Oilers, it is their goaltending. So I think if Dallas can put it together offensively, I think if their special teams can come to play, I think that they will win this series. But I don't want to take anything away from Edmonton. They have been awesome, but at some point, the goaltending is going to catch up to you. And we talked about it earlier. Calvin Pickard, undefeated in the postseasons thus far, 6-0-0. But his goals against average and his save percentage leave a little bit to be desired. And Stuart Skinner, gets a lot of flack as well, going back to Riley Smith's overtime game winner, the only game that Vegas won in that series. So I think it's going to be an interesting series for sure. But at the end of the day, and I think this was my mindset last year when we predicted the conference finals, I'm going to take the team with the better goaltender, and the better goaltender is Jake Ottinger. And now I'm not going to say that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl can't absolutely take over this series because we've seen them do it before, and by God, we'll see them do it again. Um, but I don't think it's going to be this year. And I think Dallas is going to a Stanley Cup final. And I think Dallas versus Carolina would be a really intriguing finish, especially with the midseason trade that went down. And I told you, first episode, before we predicted the postseason shades, I said Logan Stankoven is a player that fits the Carolina Hurricanes. And he's been just that. One thing I didn't mention is that Mikko Rantanen is a player that fits the Dallas Stars. And in the postseason thus far, he has shown that. And what cinema that would be, Stars Canes. So I'm going to take Dallas to win this series, and I'm going to say 6.
I am gonna do Dallas in 7 just because, like you said, I mean, because Edmonton is one of those teams where they can look abysmal in a game, and then all of a sudden the light switch goes up and they just turn it on like they're the greatest team to ever exist. It's actually kind of incredible how like watching their games. But I don't know. I think this is going to be a tough series. This is obviously going to be a goalie battle. Now watch when after I say this, the Stars are going to win in 5 and just kill them in like 2 or 3 games. Just watch. I have that kind of luck, as we've
We could
mentioned many
we
times.
could see that. I do want to put that out there. We could see that, guys. Like, everybody listening and watching, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 5 game series for Dallas. And just as Shades says, there are a couple of games in which Edmonton's goaltending just completely collapses. But go on.
Yeah, but hey, I also mentioned it earlier in the episode too. With the way this playoffs has been going, it nothing would surprise me anymore.
Yeah. I just again, how many times, and maybe this is a stat that we look up afterwards. How many times has there been we're on the precipice of that. And, you know,
Can you
just don't.
repeat that? Because my computer went, bizarro mode for a
Okay.
couple seconds there.
How many times have you seen a Stanley Cup final be the same two teams back to back years? When
What
was the
was it?
last
Detroit, Pittsburgh, 0809.
Detroit Pittsburgh? That was the last one. But again, very rare occasion. That's why for me, I think we're going to see some new teams in the Stanley Cup final. Two new teams.
And also, I just want to point out the couple of times that a team has actually made the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row. Obviously, 0809 Detroit and Pittsburgh rematch. Uh, Penguins 16-17, Lightning 2021, 20 and 21. Panthers last 2 years. Could it happen? Could they get back 3 years in a row? We'll see. Edmonton has a chance to do it, but that streak has to it's a little bit of an anomaly and it's happened a couple times in recent memory. So we'll see.
Mhm.
Don't put your money on it. And that's coming from me.
Don't listen to him.
And before I forget this episode, because I forgot last episode, here are Brendan's predictions for the conference finals. He says Oilers in 7 and Panthers in 6. So we have three different opinions here. I like that.
Yeah.
Imagine all three of us are wrong.
Is that possible?
I
Well,
think so. Yeah.
I guess number of games, yeah, could be wrong.
Yeah, because I think Dallas Panthers would be where we're all wrong.
You're not taking the Panthers?
Oh, wait, excuse me. Sorry. Oilers and wait. Oh my God, I'm having a massive brain fart. All right. He has Oilers Panthers. I have Panthers Stars. You have Stars and Hurricanes.
I guess nobody has Oilers Hurricanes.
Oilers Hurricanes. So that we have a 75% chance of one of us being right. Imagine we're all wrong.
Can't wait for it to be Oilers Hurricanes. Repeat
Uh,
of '06.
I mean, I am a jinx, so just well, I'm a jinx when I bet. So, all right, that's yeah. But yeah, so NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, conference finals coming right up. We got the Knicks in the conference finals too. Good luck to them. Uh, I mean, my bracket went right out the window, like almost immediately. So I'm just here to enjoy some playoff hockey. And of course, it's Monday that we're recording right now. Tomorrow's Tuesday, where the episode's going to be put out. Wednesday, the games start. And of course, I start work Friday nights again, 6 straight nights of working. So I am going to miss a lot of this conference finals, unfortunately, because that's just my luck. I got no luck, Liam.
You do. You might have a little bit of luck. We'll see.
Yeah, well, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, you do with these predictions. Good luck with that work schedule.
It shouldn't be too bad. Although Dodgers are in town this weekend, so
That's gonna be
that might
rough.
get pretty brutal.
Yeah. Good thing that the Subway Series wasn't in Queens. That would have
Part
been
of me wishes it was just to get it out of the way,
uh, it's
but
coming later in the year, right? They're coming to Citi Field.
yeah, they are back. I was just looking at this yesterday, trying to get my schedule together for like the rest of the season. So they are back June, excuse me, July 4th to July 6th. All right. Oh, yes, those are earlier games too. Thank God. Okay. Dude, I swear to God, like sometimes I hate working night games because it's just, especially if it goes long and you're there until like 11, like you just want to die.
Never ending, I bet.
Oh, I do. Okay, so I don't know if I've told the story before on the pod, but we're in the outro, so I don't give a shit. There was a game back in 2015. I work at Citi Field, by the way, for those who don't know. The Mets were playing the Padres, if I remember correctly. They were on the third game of a three-game homestand. The Padres, it was their one and only trip into, Citi Field for the year. There's two outs in the top of the ninth inning. Mets are winning 2-0. Two strikes. There is a fucking rain delay. 2 hours.
Which game was this again? They were playing the Padres, right?
I believe so.
Back in 2015, and BJ Upton hit a three-run home run in the top of the ninth inning, or excuse me, in the right after the rain delay.
So
The Mets lost
two
7 to 4.
strikes, rain delay. It was at least an hour and a half. They get the field ready to go again. Jerry's Familia, I remember this vividly, was still the closer at the time. We come back from a rain delay. Hit, home run. Mets go down 3-2. Second rain delay. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
You know who was in attendance that day?
Oh, you were there that day?
That was right before, and I stayed for both rain delays. And that was before the day before the Mets traded for Yoenis Cespedes, and the Mets went on to the World Series that year and lost to the Kansas City Royals. Yes, I was at that game.
Holy
BJ
shit.
Upton was either Justin Upton or BJ Upton who hit the home run. And you know what? Because I'm vain and I want to show that I'm right. Hold on. Mets versus Padres, City Field, 2015, you say?
Oh, yeah. I believe so. Because I remember during the second rain delay, I legitimately fell asleep because at that point there was like less than 2,000 people in the stadium. And if I remember correctly, by the time the game started back up a second time, there was less than 1,000 fans left. So my supervisor did not care.
It was on July 30th, 2015, and Justin Upton hit a three-run home run after the first rain delay. Then they called another rain delay and ended the inning. Or no, put the tarp on again.
Yep.
Right after they came back,
Well,
I
I
think the
believe the top of the ninth inning ended first, and then it started pouring again.
okay. Well, at least they didn't do anything in the bottom of the ninth. Actually, that
Oh,
was
if
the
they would have tied it up and it would have went to 10 innings, I would have murdered somebody.
Mets lost 8-5. BJ Upton home run to center field. That was a bomb, and somehow he hit it through the rain. But hey, the Mets have been pretty damn good ever since then, so we'll take it.
I remember I that was one of the worst shifts ever, just because of two extended rain delays.
You had to get paid overtime for that, though, no?
No,
They didn't pay you overtime for
no,
extra
no.
games?
That was back when our contract was really bad.
Hmm.
We get paid extra now, but back then we did not.
I would hope with Stevie Cohen, you guys get paid a little extra, you know.
I believe we started getting paid after a certain time before they took over the team, which is nice, but two
That's
massive rain delays, I never ever want to do that again. Because it was a 110 game. We legitimately did not get out of there until like 8 o'clock, if not like 8:30, 8:45. We were pissed. I still remember that was the quickest we've ever gotten released from a shift. Game ends, the gate opens down below, our boss walks out onto the field, gives us the signal to go home. Game ended 5 seconds later, we were released. That's never going to happen ever again.
mm.
Yeah. So that happened 10 years ago. Still not over that, but at least I got a nap in.
So two rain delays will do.
Yeah. That was before I met you. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It was a while ago. We were both in attendance that day.
Yeah. Was that before or like during your guys' time at the NHL store?
Uh, that was no, that was before. I was hanging out in the Piazza Club, I think. Just chilling out during the rain delay. Or
Wait, is that Piazza Club? Is that what it is now or
the Delta Club or something. I don't know. It was in one of the clubs. It was really nice though. It was overlooking the parking lot. and it had like all the luxury seating, and
Hmm.
you know, it's where I got some shelter during the delay.
Yeah, that was not fun.
Yeah,
But yeah, so that happened 10 years ago. Great. Coming up on that anniversary, not one I want to remember.
yeah.
But I still can't believe you were actually there that day. That's fucking mind-blowing. Small world, isn't it?
I was small world, small world.
Yeah, anyway, so that's enough baseball talk for this episode. This has been Pucks and Brews, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that neat little story where I legitimately did not know we were at the same event when I started telling the story. But this has been episode number 75 of Pucks and Brews. Hope everybody enjoyed a drink of choice during the episode. I had my not sponsored Dunkin' cold brew, medium, and hope everyone did, enjoyed their drink of choice because I forgot to say it at the beginning of the episode. But do us all a favor, please like, share, subscribe the video. All of our socials are listed in the description below. And yeah, if you're a Knicks fan, enjoy the Knicks ride. If you're a hockey fan, enjoy the Final Four, conference finals, and yeah, enjoy the nice weather because it's finally starting, to get good out. I got nothing else. All right, goodbye.